Oh.
I gave him a hug.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on our structure. We're going to be using a 6-inch round ball pan. Put some plastic wrap down in there, just for easy removal. And then I'm going to pour some candy melts into this bowl. I only need about 2 inches. So this is about 1 package of those Wilton candy melts. And then go ahead and put this into the fridge to chill. I have here a 12-inch cake board from Cake Boards of Air, which conveniently has a tiny little hole in it so you know where to drill. I'm going to drill a 1/4 inch hole. This is a fully threaded hexagon bolt that I got at the hardware store. Then you're going to take your fender washer, put that over there, and thread that through. Like that. Then take your other fender washer and your split washer and your 1/4 inch nut. Then you're going to take your pliers and just grab onto that bolt on the bottom and tighten the one on top until the split washer is completely flat. Then we're going to take our aluminum foil tape and just place some tape down everywhere where there is metal. You only want to bring the tape up as high as the cake is, so I'm going to bring this up 3.5 inches. Go ahead and frost and crumb coat your 8-inch dome. Go ahead and place this into the fridge to chill. Okay, our chocolate has set. You're going to take your chocolate and just place it over the top of a cup. And we're going to take our drill and our 1/4 inch drill bit. Go ahead and trace onto your 6-inch round. Go ahead and start stacking your cake. Then you just want to round out the surface. Trim the bottom so it matches up with the board. All right, quick crumb coat. And then take your domed cake, place that on top. Then we're going to scrape off the excess with our acetate smoother. Okay, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of vegetable shortening along this edge. Just unroll that. Make sure you work out any trapped air bubbles. Crumple up some aluminum foil, and then we're going to texture the surface. I'm just kind of making some ridges by just pressing down. Kind of squishes the buttercream underneath around. Add some ivory food color, and then we're just going to paint the surface with the ivory. This is amazing. It's so beautiful, Liz Merrick. How do you even do this? Incredible work. Then you're going to take a damp paper towel and just wipe off the excess. You want the color to stay in the little nooks and crannies. So you're only wiping off the surface color. Go ahead and put on your nut, just a little bit above there. And then we can put on our chocolate. And if you have space, a washer is good to just hold it nice and tight. Keeps the nut from digging into the chocolate. Just gonna put a small piece of aluminum foil tape just over that little nut, just because that's gonna be touching cake. A little bit of buttercream. We're gonna put a nice coat of buttercream over the cake and the chocolate. Get at these really weird angles. Use your acetate smoother to smooth out the buttercream. Make it flawless. So I'm going to say this is the front and this is the back. And I just want to put a small cone of fondant onto the back. Don't make it too big or it won't stay. We're just going to put that right on the back. And then you can just kind of hide that seam with a little bit more buttercream. And then I'm going to go ahead and place this into the freezer to really firm up before we start covering in fondant. All right, so now I'm going to make a few little sea creatures for the base of our board. And I have here just a couple of star cutters. And I'm just going to lengthen out the little arms so they're a little bit longer and more starfishy looking. And we're going to use our modeling tool to just give it some texture. Now I'm going to take some blue fondant. This already has Tylose powder in it. Just going to roll that into a circle. Just going to press down and thin the edges. We're going to take our knife tool and come from the point all the way up to the front and then just kind of radiate out. I like to do a little tuck like that. We have our little shell. You can also do like a snail shell by rolling out like a teardrop shape and then going into long skinny snack. Scary snack. To swirl it up. Kind of bring it to a point. And there we have our little snail shell. We're going to be making some cute little sea anemones. So you just want to make a kind of a tube shape. And then just hollow out the center a little bit. Just make some little indentations. Take some yellow fondant and roll it into a cone. And we're just going to layer up a whole bunch. We're going to panel this fish in two pieces rather than trying to cover it in one big piece. Just put it on the front here. Just wrap it around. Nice and gentle like. All the way under as far as you can go. I'm going to trim off some of this excess first because I know I don't need all that. And then take my second piece. Come over the front and make sure it overlaps the seam from the first one. The sharper the X-Acto blade, the easier this is going to be. And then you're going to come through and cut through both layers of fondant. And it's going to be hopefully pretty close to the center of your fish. Remove that piece from underneath. And then you should be able to just close that up. And then just tuck that kind of rough fondant underneath. You won't even be able to notice it. We're going to take a small amount of white fondant and just going to round it out, flatten the edges. Find the middle of the face here. I'm just going to put that right on the front. It's the little fishy mouth. So we're going to roll out our pink fondant, and then we're going to just place this over the top of the white that we already have on there, and then cut the shape that we want. Just going to dampen the front just a little bit. All the way down. Try and keep it semi the same on both sides. Easier said than done, huh? That's okay, we'll fix it. Go ahead and define the underside of the mouth. I'm just gonna kind of define the corners a little bit more. So go ahead and use a 1.5 inch circle cutter to cut out the fondant. All right, so I have my purple fondant here that I'm going to use for the tail and the fins. I'm just going to kind of form it into a shape that's sort of fin-like, and I'm going to leave it kind of fat so that I can roll it out and make it more into the shape that I need it to be. But I don't want to waste too much fondant, so I'm going to kind of pre-shape it. Little bottom fins. And then you want to go ahead and torch the surface. Then I'm going to paint the surface with a little bit of confectioner's glaze. And then I'm going to cover the surface with some flash dust. And you want to do that on both sides. And then you want to set that aside to fully dry. Once your fondant is dry, you can go ahead and roll it and do your crackle. You should have a nice, beautiful glitter crackle. This one is for the fins in the front, so I'm just going to cut them down straight in half. And then just kind of shape these into more of a triangle shape. Should really have a cutting board for this. And I'm just going to pinch down the edges, make it a little bit thinner. And then you just want to put a toothpick in each end and let that dry overnight. All right, so now we're going to watercolor our fish with our edible watercolors. And I'm just going to start with the purple around the side of the face and then work my way into pink and then yellow and then orange and green and blue. It's going to look really pretty. You can layer up your watercolors to make them a little bit darker, and you can go back and forth if you want to. And then go ahead and place your glitter eyes in the front. The glitter eye tutorial is on Sugar Geek Show. If you want to check that out. Okay, so now we can go ahead and start painting the scales, just using a little bit of black airbrush color. These scales are pretty freeform, so you're just going to make little U shapes. You can do some big and some small. Then you can go ahead and insert your fins, just carefully putting a skewer into the back of the fish and then putting the tail on. The top fin and the side fins should stick pretty easily into the chilled cake. All right, so we have our little fondant pieces that are all dry. I'm just going to take a little bit of pearl dust and just dust some of these edges to make them pop. We can start putting our little sea creatures onto the cake. Decide how you want them on there. You can use a little toothpick to help some things stand up better. And I'm just adding a few touches of watercolor onto the shells. Now I'm going to take some gold dust mixed with a little bit of Everclear, and I'm just going to paint some of these scales a little bit gold. I'm just going to add a couple of little spots to the face. All right, that's it. Our rainbow fish cake is complete. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. I'm Liz Merrick, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
The tail looks beautiful.
Want a bite of the rainbow fish? You don't want to cut him?
I don't want him because he's gonna be sad. What's inside his body?
Cake.
Cake? What?